Good afternoon and welcome to More Than Meets the Eye. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and for today, we're going to be talking about the vehicle mode, the tank mode for Transformers Legacy Leader Class Blitzwing. Here he is in all of his glory, and yeah, we're going to get into him today. We're going to talk about his pros and cons, and I'm going to, at the end of it, tell you, whether or not I think, based on the tank mode, if it's a good purchase. Like, I'll give a grade to the tank mode. And throughout the week, we're going to be covering a different mode of Blitzwing and, of course, the steps to transform him in the upcoming Blindformers episode. Blindformers episodes are episodes where I verbally instruct the blind how to transform their Transformers. So if you have a visually impaired friend that you know of, send them a link to my Blindformers episodes. Maybe they'll pick up Transformers and discover the joy of them like I did. After all, 3D puzzles are really nice for people with fidgety fingers. You can just play with the puzzle, and it works out pretty well. So, this guy is he's something that I was really hoping would be awesome. I'm just going to, out of the gate, I'm going to say that I came into this understanding that it wasn't going to be what I was expecting because of reviewers like Perspective End and Cliffjumper Studios. They've explained that, even Transformers Slag Podcast has talked about this thing being not the greatest. And I have to agree. After getting it, and I caught it on sale for $45. And honestly, after playing with it and stuff, and getting it ready for this video, and making sure I understood enough of it to actually do a decent in-depth review, it's not worth the money. And we'll talk about that as we go through. So here we go. He comes with 5 accessories. 7 accessories if you count the arm things being 2 different accessories, which I think they do, because they be dicks like that. So this is a hand inside of a little arm, forearm bracer thing. Yeah, you just take the hand off and you switch it around. Let's see if we can get the hand out. There we go. Got the hand out, and you can put the hand there. And then that's how you do that. To make bigger hands for Blitzwing, it would work if it actually was something that he could hold, but they screwed up the interior there, and they didn't make that port long enough so that he can actually hold it. There's barely a port in there, and he can't hold crap. It is a shame, and it feels like it's actually been broken off in there, which is stupid. That this entire thing is stupid. I don't like it. So instead, I turn them into their other form, which is the rocket launcher, I guess, where it's this box, and then there's a bunch of rockets that can launch out of it. It's all right. It reminds me a lot of the Devastator's hands from Combiner Wars, except Devastator's hands from Combiner Wars was a lot better than this, and we're going to bring that up on Robot Day. I'll bring out the one of the Devastator hands, and we'll do a nice comparison of a good engineering design compared to this hideous engineering design, and ask you which one's better. I mean, you already know my opinion on it. I'm not hiding my opinion. That's the point of this channel. I don't hide my opinion on these things. I let you know what my opinion is straight up. And yeah, these things are kind of cool, but they're also really stupid. And I don't like the fact they have no male pegs anywhere. So the only way to really attach it to anything is with this female hole right up here, this siege port, and this little slippy thing, this little horizontal peg hole on the side that allows you to attach it to the edge of the tank turret. And you just attach it like so. Come on. We're on video, so you have to do this right. Gotta do this. There it goes. See, it attaches pretty well. There's a little clip that sits out, and then like at the very end of the turret, there's a little clip that sits out, and then this little clip area on the side of the turret actually adds stabilizing point, because when you slide it together, this little bit here that sticks out on the end of this container, it's just the right size to slip into the little gaps that are right there on that little bitty bit that sticks out on the side. That's the only place these go, though. They don't go anywhere else. Now, the other weapons that he has do. They go everywhere. The sword is upsetting because it has it's not as... It's a nice sword. It's a really nice sword. but they could have done more with this siege port on it. You know, when we got the Rodimus Prime sword that had from the commander class, and his siege port and that sword can move back and forth. It could fold into the sword itself or fold out in different directions. I thought that was just going to be what they were doing with swords from then on. No, no, they put a siege peg just sitting out on this one, and it would have been cooler if it just had two ports, so that it just had a port that ran through the sword, so you could have actually attached all the guns to the sword, and then that would have been really cool to attach all the weapons together. He came with these two exact duplicate guns. They have two male pegs on them, and also three male pegs, and no ports, sadly. But they're really nice guns, and I enjoy them, and they can fit just about anywhere on him. Siege port wise, Blitzwing here's got he's got one on the top of his turret and one behind his turret. He's got three on each of his treads, each of the armor above the treads, so that comes out to a grand total of 8. 8 ports in 9, 10 if you count the ability to fold up these little jets that become his feet that are hanging out off the back end. I know he's following with the Ironhide mold, and that his feet are hanging off the back. But it's a shame that those ports are on this side of the foot that folds up instead of the side of the foot that could fold down, because you could actually have put some weapons there, and that would have looked a little nicer. Or you could have put a little peg into these ports, into one of these ports, and actually had it sticking up, and then utilize that peg to plug a transformer on. I would really love to see some more some pegs that are just pegs that stick out just a little bit, so that you can put your transformers actually on them and have them stationary. That would be really cool, but they don't ever do that. There we go. Snap those things back together. And let's talk about the sculpt work, and then we're going to get into depth in the things I dislike about this guy. Sculpt work wise, they dropped the ball with the tread sculpt. You can kind of feel the tread sculpt, but it's a memory of tread sculpt more than it's actually tread sculpt, which is a shame for these. And you know how I feel about tanks. I mean, every tank that we've talked about on this channel has had some excellent tread sculpt work. Let's see. Let's grab a random tank. I got a tank right here. Boom. Right here. Random tank. Let's check out your tread. Oh my god. Look at that. Look at that. Listen to that. That's my fingernail running across that tread sculpt. Oh yeah. Look at that. Deep treads. Nice feeling treads. Great tread work on that guy. And this guy is darn it. I forgot his name again. He's the wrecker. He's the wrecker that becomes a tank. The old man wrecker with a hook hand. Yeah. Now, we go here to his tread, and I'm going to try the same thing here. It sucks. That tread is not deep enough. That tread is barely sculpted in there. Like, what did these guys spend their money on? I mean, what the hell? So over here we got the same problem with the tread, and that's a shame. You know how much I like tanks. You know how much I like my tread sculpt. And this guy didn't got no tread sculpt. They pussied out when it came to this tread sculpt. So he's got armor wise, they did an all right job texturing the armor on the side of this tank. You got the cool siege ports. You've got some nice little bits and pieces of tank. Some rivets and stuff is textured in here. They did a decent job with the sculpt work for this tank. Still, I'd give the sculpt work a 4 out of 10 because it could have been a lot better. Or a 5 out of 10. I'll give it a just solid 50%. Like they made it halfway and then they gave up when it came to the sculpt work on this tank, and that's a shame because I have seen things sculpted worse, but I haven't seen things sculpted this lazy. That's the thing. Now let's talk about the things I don't like about this tank. I'm going to set you over here. You just live down there. So things I don't like about this tank. Number one, and everyone's going to say it, it's this little cockpit that sticks out the front. I would not have any problems with this little cockpit that sticks out the front of the tank mode. It's a chunk of the cockpit from his jet mode. It's just that it sticks out longer than the treads. It sticks out longer than the treads, and that's where I've got a problem. When people were saying it stuck out, I was like, okay, I can handle a little bit of that. All right, I get it. Sometimes you just can't fit everything in there. But when you've got a transformer like Cyclonus that came from Kingdom, just just a year ago. Cyclonus has got that amazing technique with how his entire nose cone for his jet mode can just unfold and then unfold and then unfold again. And they could have done the same thing with this guy. They could have folded this one more time in on itself or come up with a way for that to work. Instead, they didn't. They could have raised up the armor on either side of this, or hell, pumped up the tank mode size by a factor, and it would have worked out better. But what they got here is just not right. That cockpit sticking out too, much further than the treads do was just a crying shame. I am just I was floored by how stupid that is, and how stupid that looks, and how stupid it feels. Like I'm just holding him by his cockpit. Yeah, like this is literally a cockpit, and why? Why does this exist? It doesn't need to. Who the hell did you fire, Hasbro? Because seriously, this feels like somebody was working on it. Somebody was putting a lot of time and effort into it. Somebody was actually making a damn good Blitzwing. And then you fired them, or you took the project from them and you gave it to some noob. And the noob took it and then took what the guy had already worked on and just finished that up, not realizing that the guy was working on the alpha test for it, and that wasn't even going to be the final product. He was probably going to make 3 or 4 more before finally deciding, this is my Blitzwing. No. You hired a lazy person who just came in, and they took what somebody else was already working on and went, hey, it's finished. They didn't do shit to it. And that's a shame, because this guy could have been excellent. He is my favorite Decepticon. I will die on that hill. Blitzwing is awesome. Blitzwing was created by the Quintessons to rule over the Autobot slaves, and that was just, what in the world? Like, Blitzwing was one of the original enforcers. That's why he's a triple changer. All triple changers come from this enforcer class in G1, and that's really cool. And Blitzwing had a really cool story. Blitzwing was complicated. He was one of the more complicated Decepticons next to, like, Thundercracker. He had some depth to him. And, it was, when light was shined on him, it was shined bright. And it's a shame that, my first Blitzwing I have ever owned, this is my first Blitzwing. And I've never been able to get a hold of another Blitzwing. And it's just a shame. It's just so sad. And finally, before I let you go, I'm going to talk about the part that really, really pissed me off about this. Okay, there's a scene from Transformers the movie where where Cup drives up the road, goes off a little dirt ramp, transforms mid-transformation, lands on Blitzwing, and then spins around the turret to pull the turret upwards so that Blitzwing can't fire on somebody. So we're going to try and recreate that scene by having him stand on the... Oh, look at this. Look at that. Look how huge Cup is compared to Blitzwing here. This is just not right. Now, like, you have Cup grab the barrel and pull the barrel back, but look at the size differential here. Blitzwing is supposed to be in tank mode larger than Cup. And don't you start with that size stuff where they change their sizes all the time. I know they do. I know their sizes can increase or decrease. I just know also that this isn't a correctly scaled tank. To everything we've gotten, this tank is smaller than it should be. And it's obvious with the cockpit sticking out the front. Had this tank been upsized by a factor of maybe 1 or 2, and just increased in size a little bit more, then the scene where Cup is sitting here grabbing the barrel and pulling it back wouldn't look so goofy. Now would it? It would actually look a little cooler instead of Cup coming across a toy tank and moving it. Like in the movie, that scene was excellent. That was an amazing scene, and I ask all of y'all to go check that scene out. If you haven't ever seen the Transformers movie, watch it for that scene, because that scene was excellent. That was a good use of transformation stuff. That was I loved it. And I am a lover of cool action scenes like that, especially whenever they utilize, somebody in vehicle mode getting up to speed, launching off, and then transforming into robot mode to use the inertia and the momentum they gathered in vehicle mode to actually, bend a steel turret backwards, or Cybertronian turret backwards, to stop it from firing at an Autobot. I just think that's cool, and it's a shame that this guy can't do it. I don't know. I just do not like this Blitzwing. I do not like this Blitzwing at all. And my final thoughts on the vehicle mode. Oh, one more thing about this vehicle mode. It's a shell former, by the way. This turret, and the treads, it all just folds down and becomes a tank. That's it. It's the laziest transformation technique to make a tank that I've seen so far. I'm done talking about it. Thank you for watching. Tune in next Prime. We'll be talking about the robot mode and the aircraft mode down the road, and we'll also be explaining to you in a Blindformers episode how you're supposed to transform this guy to reach all three modes. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and please tune in next Prime.